Hey everyone, welcome. It's great to have with me here today Ben Romalis. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm great, Amy. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Ben is one of my in-demand coach members, and I wanted to bring Ben on because he's a business coach, he's a creative consultant, and a workshop facilitator. He's a former chief performance analyst at Cricket Australia, and he's worked with some massive brands like Adobe, Commonwealth Bank, and AMP. So I'd love to highlight a few things for just people that are coming across you for the first time. Tell us a little bit about yourself, the work that you do, and who you help, essentially.
Yeah, well, the work I do at the moment is really split into two camps. Half of my work is, like you said, business coaching, and sometimes that involves, a little bit of executive coaching, a little bit of leadership coaching. But essentially, I'm working with small and medium-sized businesses, and the nature of that work is really helping those business leaders or those business owners get clarity around, what they might be struggling with. Getting clarity around the challenges and help them on their growth trajectory, because all business owners and leaders are thinking about growth. They're trying to work out what the next step is. And so a lot of my work is having those very structured conversations to pull apart the problem and get at the heart of what's really going on with them.
Yeah, fantastic. And if you can't already tell from your background, I can see a few musical instruments. I can see, very clear camera image. You've got quite a creative and artistic edge to what you do. So how does that play a part in, say some of these traditional businesses that are out there? What are they lacking in terms of that creativity, do you find?
Yeah, well, to just bring our attention back to this room. This room is really a accumulation of, I'd say, 25 years of being involved in the music industry, being involved in the creative arts, but also being involved in a lot of creative content that does cross over with the business world. So I have done a lot of workshop facilitation with companies, helping them see the value in creative problem solving and in the value of creative process. And I guess my passion is finding ways to bring the two worlds together and not keep them apart. How can I not silo myself and silo my work, but actually get the two to interact? So in answer to your question, I think creativity, no one doesn't want creativity, at their disposal. No one doesn't want to be able to solve problems faster and more efficiently. The challenge for business, I think, comes with this idea that creativity is just for a select few, or it's not something that they have because they weren't born with it. So for me in business, there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what creativity is. And for me, creativity is a habit, like most things. It happens when you embrace it and engage with it and you try to understand it. So a lot of my work is to try and break down creativity, show that it's not really just about the arts, that it can be for everyone and should be for everyone, and then get businesses to adopt their own creative processes.
That's really cool. I love that you refer to creativity as a habit, because I think sometimes people can get really caught up in the whole identity of creativity. And like you said, if you don't feel that you're a creative type of person, sometimes it feels like, well, I'm just not creative, therefore I can't think creatively or I can't do this. And I think having someone like yourself to sort of tap into that in some organizations that might not typically think that they're a creative style organization or they have to think about creativity. I think it's really cool and really interesting that you can draw on your own experiences and have that edge as an executive coach or business coach. So I think that's really cool.
Thanks. And that is, I think the word edge is, it's, we're always looking to see what makes us different and what gives us a competitive advantage. So for me, it is coming at every engagement with that problem solving mindset and that creative mindset as much as I can.
That's great. And what landed you in this world, Ben? I'm really curious, and I know people listening to this as well would be really curious on your own journey and your own story into how you ended up being a coach and what kind of led you into wanting to be a coach. And I guess how was that first sort of initial journey where you first said, all right, I'm going to set up my own coaching business and sort of dive headfirst in?
That's a great question. It's always funny when you examine your own life, and your own lifestyle choices. But for me, and you talked about Cricket Australia before. So I was working as a performance analyst for many years, and I started quite young in that role, and that's a whole other story. But I was working with Cricket New South Wales and Cricket Australia, and doing this role that was really very niche. Analysing cricket, biomechanics, data analysis, video performance work. So, and yet at the same time, I was fostering a creative life as much as possible. I was working hard to develop the two in parallel. So when I left cricket and, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do next, I ended up trying a few different things and fell into workshop facilitation. And that felt great. It just felt very natural, very comfortable.
Yeah.
And from that, I started meeting people in the business community, and I started working with people who then suggested that coaching might be a thing. And I rejected the idea for a couple of years.
Yeah.
The real shift for me in the last 4 or 5 years has been this realization that coaching for me is the perfect model to bring together all of my interests and all of my passions. And it really is a great, for me, it's a great vehicle to bring together disparate ideas in the one unified package.
Yeah.
So I bring my high performance sports mindset. I bring my creative mindset. I bring everything else I'm interested in, and I use that to develop my brand as a coach. It seems to be the one way I can bring all of those things together.
Yeah, it's awesome, because everyone does come with this, vast amount of experience and different skill sets, from their background. And I agree with you that coaching and consulting often is that lane and that vehicle where you can say, okay, well, this is the skill set that I bring to the table, and this is of value for someone else to know, and you can make an impact that way, which is pretty cool. And I know you and I, when we first started working together, connected over cricket, actually, because not many people know this about me, but I used to play cricket growing up at quite a high level. So we connected on that, which I thought was pretty cool as well. So it was kind of like, I think, the universe saying, yeah, we should probably work together.
Absolutely. You don't meet many people who have played New South Wales rep cricket. And so when you do meet those people, it's always fun to, connect on that level.
Yeah, for sure. And so once you'd made that decision where you thought, okay, I've got all of these different experiences, you've done some workshop facilitation, and you thought this feels really good. What were sort of some initial maybe challenges or some things that you had initially when you thought, okay, I'm going to make this jump into my own business? And were there any challenges and issues at the start? How did that go for you in terms of that journey?
Huge challenges, always, right? But I think the big one to start with is that imposter syndrome that comes with doing something new. Even though it feels like a natural progression from something you've been doing, I still had that sense of, why am I doing this? Who's going to care? Who's going to want to work with me? How is this going to work in any way? And in those moments, it was really a big deal to have certain mentors around me who sort of, talked me through those periods and really encouraged me to go into the work.
Yeah.
So that was a big challenge. I guess the other big challenge for me is understanding what coaching really is. What is unique about coaching, so that it's not mentoring, and it's not management, and it's not consulting, and it's not facilitation. It is its own profession. And I had to really learn about the paradigm of coaching and the parameters, and learn when I was straying outside of those, and learn how to set expectations for myself and the client. So a lot of learning on the job, but then I also went through the IECL program, and that gave me some really great, frameworks to rely on. So it's just been that accumulative process of getting your hands dirty, doing it, making lots of mistakes, getting great feedback, and getting the support of some professionals in the industry, and working with people like yourself who understand what it's like to be a coach and understand all of those challenges that you go through when you're trying to get there.
Yeah, totally. And I know for a lot of people in a similar spot to you, certainly not alone there, where that imposter syndrome of, you've had a successful corporate career, you've really hit a high level in your career, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to take these skills and transform it and look at it in a different way and use that in a different way. And like you said, even though they're things that you've done before, sometimes for some people out there, there's that transition of going from, well, I'm working for an organization, or I'm coaching on behalf of an organization, to now, well, I'm coaching and working for myself, and therefore I need to sell myself as a coach and consultant. I think that transition can be a little bit of a sticking point for some people. Did you find the same, or with others that you know as well?
I'm still finding that the challenge. I would say that, selling yourself, I don't know, it never feels particularly comfortable. You get better at it. And I think you get better at understanding that what you're really trying to do is help people, and you lead with that. If you believe you can really help someone, then it shouldn't be hard to say, I believe I can help you, and let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
But early on, absolutely, it was difficult, and I struggled with it, and there were all these, huge learnings, huge shifts that I had to go through in order to get more comfortable with that.
Yeah. And what were some of those learnings for you? Like, say, from, when we first started working together to now, what were some of the things that made the biggest difference to you, do you think?
I think mindset around certain elements of running your own business. So, I would say sales is one of those things, if creativity is one of those triggers for people where, you have half the room put their hand up and say, I'm not creative. I would say sales is also one of those triggers where half the room puts their hand up and says, I'm not good at sales. It's, or maybe more than half the room, I don't know, but I would have identified as someone who was not good at sales. And I think what we started talking about very early was how the mindset around these concepts is so important. And so if I'm going into an engagement thinking that I do not like sales and I'm not good at sales, really hard to see any way that gets better.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the work that you talk about and that I've done in your program is around breaking it down, talking about that value up front, talking about this idea of, being able to help, and that being really, as complex as it needs to be at the very beginning. If you believe you can help, get in there and offer your services.
Yeah.
And so breaking down what sales really is and what it meant to me and what my perceptions were of sales and salespeople, that was a huge shift going through the course. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, because I think for many people out there, we've got this image sometimes of these sleazy, used car salesmen that are just out there to take people's money and not deliver and rip people off, and like, you name it. There's so many connotations of sales, but I think it's really important, like you said there, to sort of shift that thinking and that mindset around, it's just about finding a match, and it's just about feeling like, well, okay, they've got a problem. I know how to help and solve this problem. So, it makes total sense to have that conversation and to come to a conclusion about working together. So,
I was just going to add on to that too, because something else that you said in one of our sessions was this idea that, if you're feeling uncomfortable with selling what you do, it may be an indication of something else. It may actually be indicating that you're not comfortable with your own product. You're not, there's something else that's glitching for you, and the lack of selling it is really just an indication of something that's going on deeper. So I took that very seriously when I started your program, and really looked at whether or not I was comfortable with what I was selling and how I was positioning it. And it's a pretty hard conversation to have with yourself, but it really changed things, because there were things that I wasn't completely convinced of, in terms of their value. So I had to change those. I had to sub those out and put some new things in that I was 100% happy with.
Yeah. And then it makes it a lot easier, because it's a no-brainer for you to talk about, a no-brainer for you to know that you're adding value and you're helping people. And it's a no-brainer for the other party to say yes to, because it just, it comes down to your offer and making sure that you can articulate that in the right way as well.
Yeah, it just feels better. Feels authentic.
Yeah, exactly. None of the icky, pushy, like used car salesman. I think everyone now as well, we're not in the 1980s. So I think now we've kind of moved past that, and we're in a world of social selling, and we're in a world of selling a little bit more authentically from, the heart, and making an impact and being able to add value. And of course, get paid a premium to do that as well, because you've invested in yourself, in your learning, in your development, to have these skills, to have this experience that you bring as well. So, undercharging for yourself isn't going to help those people or yourself either. So I think that's a really good point that you highlight. And when it comes to that world of social selling, and I know we do some work on LinkedIn as well, like what have you found in terms of maybe some mindset shifts there as well, in terms of different ways that you can now get clients versus maybe in the 1980s, not saying that you're around working that time either. But how's that changed for you as well?
Well, LinkedIn has been huge for me in terms of, first of all, embracing it. Second of all, realizing the value of it. It's again that mindset shift of, I was kind of deluding myself, and and I think a lot of people do this early on, thinking that they'll somehow get business without telling anybody what they do, or, or without sharing this idea that we're open for business. And
Yeah.
I guess I was very comfortable doing it in other parts of my life. I just hadn't made the connection yet with the business side of things and with my own coaching work. So that was a big moment, realizing that if I didn't get out there and tell people that I was A, open for business, and B, really eager to have conversations with people about these specific areas I feel I could help, how did I expect anything to change? And so then getting into the real nitty gritty of, what does my banner say about me? What does my headline say about me? I've rewritten my headline at least 12 times in the last few weeks, just because I'm playing with the language. I'm trying to test it for myself. I'm trying to see, what resonates.
There's that creative edge coming out, Ben. I can tell.
I know. I have to kind of suppress that. But, I think the thing I've learned from working with you, especially focusing on LinkedIn, is this idea that there are all these little areas that you just go and experiment with and tweak and you try them out. And I've gotten much better. So that rapid prototyping and asking for feedback has been a huge part of my LinkedIn journey so far.
Yeah. And forming those new types of business connections and letting people know that, yes, people can work with you. You're open for business. Yep. How has that set you up for success in the future, do you think?
Well, I think I've broken through that boundary, or I've broken through that barrier that was holding me back to the point where I just reach out to people in a much more comfortable way now. And I think I was always scared of imposing on people. People are busy, and you don't want to contact people out of the blue. And I still believe there's a boundary, there is a limit to what you should and shouldn't do. But for me, I've met so many great people in the last, 2 months that I just reached out to because we had a connection, or it seemed like we could be a good fit. And so not trying to manufacture a fit that wasn't there, but actually just looking, there are so many people out there in the world. There are so many people on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You will find people who have common threads with you. And I needed to make it feel organic and reach out to those people, and it was rewarded, well and truly by them coming back and saying, yeah, let's connect. So that's been the shift for me.
Yeah, fantastic. So having that now just done and dusted, moved through it.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take your business? Like, what are your plans for the next 12 months? And if we were having this conversation in 12 months time, Ben, like, where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing?
It's a great question. Well, I'm going to continue, the LinkedIn journey for me isn't over, in the sense that I'm still, I guess, really redesigning my brand and working out how to position it and completing that process.
Yeah.
But it's about connecting with people. It's about finding people who do need the kind of work that I offer, which has been happening, and it's been really great. However, there's only one of me. And so I'm starting to get the calendar filling up and already seeing that, in 12 months time, I would expect to not be able to take on, the clients that I would like to be able to take on, just because I've run out of spots in the calendar. So I would say in 12 months time, I would love to have put in place the beginnings of, a program where it doesn't need to be me always delivering, but I can talk people through some sort of system that allows me to connect with more people, create bigger impact. So that's the plan.
Yeah, fantastic. So hitting your capacity pretty quickly for your one-to-one, that's just around the corner, and then looking at more of a leveraged, coaching approach, whether it comes to online courses, group coaching, e-learning, those sorts of things as well.
Yeah, and I'd love to, coming back to what we spoke about at the very beginning, I'm putting together a program for, to break down creative thinking, to really break it down so that any organization can work through it, get everyone in the organization to try it in small steps and to make it part of the culture. So I'm working on that at the moment, and I don't see why I can't roll that out, in the next 6 months or so, once it's ready to go. So that's the plan.
Fantastic. And in terms of like growth for your business, maybe like as a percentage, what will that do for you in terms of your business growth overall?
Yeah, I will. Well, I'm on track at the moment to double in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
If I can get that framework in place where I'm running that program and doing it the way I want to do it, then I say by the end of the year, it then doubles again. That's kind of where it's moving at the moment. It's moving very quickly.
Fantastic. And we are certainly on track for that. I look forward to helping you implement some of those things as well. It's pretty exciting to watch. And I think that, you know, thank you for being brave and sort of sharing some of the things that happen around sales and that imposter syndrome, because I think you're certainly not alone in that aspect. And I think for some people, if they say it's not there, I don't believe them. I think at some level, it's always there for people. So I think it's awesome for you to be able to share your story, your journey, and how far you've come in such a short amount of time as well has blown me away and continues to blow me away as well, which is really cool. So I'd love to hear, like, just, you know, any sort of advice, any sort of insights or learnings that you'd like to share with, say, other people that were in your position when you first got started, knowing what you know now. And maybe even sharing some of your thoughts around the program. Like, what would be your advice to them?
I think, you know, the temptation is to do it on your own, or the temptation is to think you can do it on your own. And I've been a freelancer for a long time. And so my default position was to just, you know, keep trudging through it. And it was a huge error, because when I joined your program, first thing that happened was that weekly session with the group. And there were 20 of us on the call. And as soon as you see there are all these other people who say the same thing, have the same challenges, and are very much there to share in a safe space, you realize that it's going to be much quicker doing it this way. I was always saying to myself, I don't have time to be part of a group, you know, and then you realize, oh, it's going to be way quicker doing it this way. So that, you know, if anyone's out there thinking that, you know, just incremental gains by yourself is the way, I fooled myself with that mentality for a long time. And just even being able to log on each week for an hour with the group and having you there to really curate a conversation that you never know what's going to come up, but you know that it's going to be something that you're struggling with or will struggle with or have just struggled with. So that safety in numbers and that wisdom of the room idea, I have learned so much just from people's questions and comments throughout the program. So don't do it by yourself. That's a big thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think even myself, you know, obviously I'm a coach, consultant, same as yourself, but I'm a big consumer of it as well. And I think at every different level requires a different level of thinking. And so I think, like you said, the power of actually being able to leverage off other people's perspectives, and, you know, there's no point going out there and trying to figure out something else yourself when someone else has already figured it out for you.
Absolutely.
And you can just take that and run with it. I just love working with you, Ben, and you are a great member of the tribe. You contribute a lot in the community, and so it's just a pleasure working with you. And I absolutely love seeing your progress, and we'll continue to see your progress in this space as well. So for everyone that's listening, if there's business owners out there that are looking for that creative edge in their companies, where can they reach out and find you?
So easiest way is to just email me, and I can obviously put my email in the link below, but ben.romalis@hub.sydney and LinkedIn /Ben Romalis, just one word.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today and having this chat, Ben. I think it has helped a lot of people who are listening to this who might be in the same boat as you were at the start, just to move through things a lot quicker. So thanks again. And look forward. I'll see you on LinkedIn and see you on LinkedIn.
Thank you. See you, Amy.
Bye.